The Flames look to win their third straight game for the first time since before American Thanksgiving.
You're Locked On Flames, your daily podcast on the Calgary Flames. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Locked On Flames. As always, I am your host, Jess Belmosto, and thank you so much for joining me. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets if you win or lose your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Today, we're going to talk about the upcoming game against Chicago tonight, as well as Rory Kerins and the plans surrounding his call-up, and we'll kick things off with the difference makers from Saturday night's game against the LA Kings. Make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcasts, as well as YouTube. We are here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, your Calgary Flames every day. And let's dive right into it. Dustin Wolf stopped 31 of 32 shots by the LA Kings on Saturday night. The Kings were out shooting the Flames pretty much the entire game, and that's not really surprising considering the difference in systems, the difference in caliber of talent, and just the fact that the Kings kind of, I don't want to say dominated the game, but they held control for a while. But he stood on his head, and that shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone. I think that we know Dustin Wolf, especially at home, is more likely than not going to steal you the game. This is another issue that I do not like. Another big issue. The Kings were roughing up Wolf. And this happened probably a month ago now in Dallas with Jamie Benn. And then it happened a short time after that. And then it was happening kind of frequently. And then it just happened again on Saturday. And this, the good news is that Mackenzie Weegar was right there to jump in and kind of, let these players know, hey, you're not going to touch my goalie. But I don't know what it is. I don't like it. I feel like it's some sort of intimidation tactic. And yeah, you probably should be worried if you can't score on Dustin Wolf. So just an idea. I would love it if opponents kept their hands to themselves in front of the goalie. But speaking of keeping our hands to ourselves, Jonathan Huberdeau also had a very, I don't want to say very physical game, but he was throwing his body around a little bit. And I really thought that after the first period, he was going to get into a fight. He had a shoving match in front of the benches with, I can't remember if it was Philip Deneau or Adrian Kempe, whoever it was, one of the players on the Kings. And I fully expected things to break out into a fight. They did not. However, Jonathan Huberdeau did break out in a game-winning goal in the third period. A power play goal too. Like what on earth is going on here? It's nice to see the Flames generating offense, and it's great to see that Huberdeau is up to 31 points in 41 games, 20 points in 20 games, considering this is his third year with the Flames, and we have yet to really see vintage Jonathan Huberdeau, and it's just nice to go out there and see consistent offense from him. I understand we are never going to see 115-point Jonathan Huberdeau ever again. We're probably never going to see 90-point Jonathan Huberdeau again. But for a team that is struggling to produce offense, let's take this for what it is and be grateful for it. This is his fourth game-winning goal of the season, and this is his highest since arriving in Calgary. He has 4 on the season, and his career high is 7, obviously with Florida in the 2021-2022 season. That was a very special season for a lot of players. I would have to argue, which is great because I could talk about that Flames team forever. That season was very special. And then of course, the man that opened the scoring, Matt Coronato. There is something so great about him. And when I talk about greatness, I don't mean, I'm not comparing him to Matthew Tkachuk or, any of the other game breakers that the Flames have had. But his shot is nice. He consistently puts up 3+ shots a night. And he's finding the back of the net too, which is important. And just the consistency of driving the net or shooting the puck, because I feel like the Flames really struggle with that sometimes, especially with Connor Zary out. You need someone who is going to generate that offense, and it's not necessarily an easy feat and for this team. And we kind of know how predictable this team can be, and other teams can read them easily. But when you have someone like Matt Coronato going in night after night after night, he's obviously going to be defended heavier, but it does create opportunities for different scoring chances. But coming up next, we're going to talk about Rory Kerins and just what on earth the Flames plan to do with him, because someone has to come out of the lineup and in order for him to slot in. So let's see who that's going to be. From big upsets to game-winning drives, the NFL playoffs are better with FanDuel, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. The FanDuel app gives you everything you need for live bets, same game parlays, and so much more. I personally will be placing a bet ahead of tonight's matchup against the Chicago Blackhawks. Probably, a little bit of a parlay, maybe a Nazem Kadri anytime goal, Matt Coronato 2+ shots, or whatever the stat is at, take the over, and maybe a money line. Why not? Just visit FanDuel.com to join today and get started with $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Thanks, everyone, for hanging out with me today on Locked On Flames. Make sure you are subscribed wherever you get your podcasts, as well as YouTube. We're here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, your Calgary Flames every day. And let's talk about Rory Kerins. This is a big deal. Okay. I would say there's never been a more anticipated call up, but I don't necessarily think that that's the case here. Just because I don't necessarily think people understand the impact Kerins has had with the Wranglers. And it's not anyone's fault, because hey, if you're not familiar with him and you're not necessarily seeing players from the Wranglers get called up frequently or make their NHL debut, I don't really think it's a long shot to say you probably aren't familiar with them unless you are truly paying attention. But Rory Kerins was called up last week after Connor Zary was placed on IR with a knee injury, and he is out indefinitely, which is a big bummer. But on the bright side, you will get to see the Wranglers' best talent with Kerins. He was called up last week, obviously, slotted in at practice right on that second line. Good stuff, I would say, right? Like you're not going to see him play on the fourth line necessarily. It may be an easy place for him to start and then move him up throughout the lineup, but at that point, you have to take someone out of the lineup. And there is a strong possibility that it is either Kevin Rooney or maybe Sharon Govich. We have seen a decrease in minutes for Kevin Rooney. He played just 6 minutes on Saturday night. And there, limiting a player's minutes is not necessarily uncommon, especially when they are on the fourth line. But the thing with this is you do have to shuffle the lines. You do a little bit, potentially. I could see them taking out Rooney. I could also see them taking out Sharon Govich because he might need a little something to a little jump start. Kind of worked with Kuzmenko. And I think that sometimes players just need to, I feel like it happens to a lot of us in our day-to-day lives, whether we realize it or not, just kind of getting that jump start, right? Like, oh my God. Yeah, no, I absolutely need to be better at work. Or, oh, maybe I shouldn't have bought that $80 Amazon order after checking your bank account, or whatever the case may be, right? Like a lot of us kind of get into the oh no phase, right? But I do think there needs to be a change in the lineup. I think that, if you're calling up Kerins, who has worked as hard as he has with the Wranglers and put up the numbers that he has, it's not necessarily easy scoring 20 plus goals consistently, mind you. And he just made the AHL All-Star Classic, so why not give him a shot? Huska's thing has been making he wants to see younger talent in the second half of the season, and well, here we are at a perfect opportunity for that. I think you are getting potentially more if you keep Sharon Govich in the lineup. Take Rooney out so this kid can play center. It should, it not go great. Maybe try scratching someone else like Sharon Govich and, or give him a longer leash. I think that this is the opportunity that the Flames have needed to, again, put younger players in the lineup. This has been something that they wanted to work towards. And going back to Saturday night's game, LA was such a faster team. The Flames have gotten faster, but the amount of speed that is on LA's team, like there was no way the Flames were going to keep up with them should that be like a 7-game series. And ultimately, that's what you're building this team for. It's not just an 82-game regular season with the hopes of squeaking in. It is to be a legitimate contender. So we're going through the motions again. I don't know. I feel like this team is always kind of teeter-tottering and walking a fine line in terms of declaring a direction. And I wholeheartedly believe the Flames need to put Kerins in. He has yet to make his NHL debut. He has worked very hard for it. He is on an expiring contract too. Is this going to be a young center that you really want to risk losing because you aren't giving him a shot? But coming up next, we are going to talk about the upcoming game tonight against the Chicago Blackhawks. It is an early game. It is a 5:30 Mountain Time game for the Flames. 7:30 on the East Coast, and of course 6:30 for those in Chicago. And we'll be back to talk about that in just a moment. Did Rocket Money help you find any subscriptions you forgot about or that you were paying for twice? That has definitely happened to me. I will go through and be absolutely shocked that I'm either still paying for something, that I'm paying something in general, or that it's been duplicated. And Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. It brings everything together in one place, whether it's subscriptions, your spending habits, or even goals you want to hit this year. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved over $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all the app's premium features. I really like the subscription tracker, as I mentioned before, just because sometimes I forget that I have added this subscription, or that, I want to cancel something, and it's easy to find right there. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/locked-on today. That is rocketmoney.com/locked-on. rocketmoney.com/locked-on. Thanks everyone for hanging out with me today on Locked On Flames. Make sure you're following me on Twitter and Blue Sky at Jess Belmosto. Tonight, the Flames are playing against Chicago, who, they're Chicago. You're not always gonna, there's very much a rebuilding team. But what fascinates me about Chicago is the way that they have built their roster. Similar to the Flames in terms of surrounding young players with veterans, but they're not overly expensive veterans. Like Nick Foligno, Taylor Hall, Tyler Bertuzzi, Ryan Donato. There's a good bunch of players there. And obviously Connor Bedard is a generational talent, and you want to protect him. You want to start building fast around him because you don't want to be in a Buffalo Sabres situation where, you're rebuilding for 10 years, or you're Ottawa and like Brady Tkachuk is going to be like 30 years old before you reach the playoffs. And that's not a good sign. But the Flames have struggled against Chicago in the past. I think that it is just a matter of them maybe getting too confident and underperforming, or just not being able to get up against a bad team. Whatever the case may be, the Flames just have to win. If that's really if they want to still keep those playoff dreams alive, then they have to go out there and put forth a 150% effort for 60 minutes. That is completely up to them, right? But I would say that, obviously the Flames have really struggled on the road this year. They have the most road losses out of the entire NHL, which is concerning. Very concerning. You can't only be good at home. You got to find a balance. And we know that. That feels like it's stating the obvious for sure. But is this team capable of doing that? I'm not talking about 2 to 3 years from now team. I'm talking about this team that wants to play playoff series and will likely not have home ice advantage this season. Is that something that is going to, happen? And I want to say that, my players to watch tonight feel fairly obvious. Obviously, Nazem Kadri, who has 4 points in his last 5 games, he has been absolutely great to watch this entire season. I think people underestimate what he brings to this team in terms of getting the young guys, taking them under his wing and literally, and then, watching them blossom. And that's one of the intangibles that you just can't give up. And it does, like I mentioned last week, I believe it sends a message to your team and to the veterans around you if you're just willing to trade everyone away. Even if you're, consistently putting up offense and your presence means something to the entire locker room, but especially the young guys that you're trying to integrate. I also think that Kevin Ball has looked a lot better. I think that he had a few good plays on Saturday, whether it was defensively or keeping the puck in the zone. I think that I have slowly started to come around on him. It only took half the season. However, I still don't think that he is a third pairing defenseman, but I don't necessarily think the Flames have another top pairing defenseman that they can, outside of Mackenzie Weegar, that they could put up there. And that would be doing a disservice to your second pair if you take away Weegar. So I guess like the biggest thing here for me would be continue to watch special teams. The penalty kill has been good. Knock on wood. They're still not anywhere near where I would like them to be. Still, circling the drain there, but we knew that was going to be a thing. So I guess, the power play has been consistent. And I will take it. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I don't want this team to have successes throughout the season. Do I want this team to make the playoffs? No. I think Saturday's game against LA really solidified that this team could not survive the playoffs. And they would go out and embarrass themselves and ultimately cost them a draft pick. So I'm sure that will go over well. But I wish nothing but good things for this team. I think that they're a good group of guys, and I'm very proud of them for being as resilient as they are, because they don't have an easy job. Night after night, being away from your family, going out and playing a physical game, and of course, not being an overall contender. But that'll do it for me here on today's episode of Locked On Flames. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me. Make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcasts, as well as YouTube. We're here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week. Your Calgary Flames every day. And until next time, stay safe, stay warm, stay dry, stay cool, stay hydrated, and remember to be kind.